Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark on the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1991 Taiwanese epic drama A Brighter Summer Day.
妈，好无聊哦，回去了啦。
Hey, that's not fair. You haven't even seen any of the review yet. I will try to be a little bit more exciting than normal, though. I'm reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1920 silent movie era, and now I'm at 1991 with A Brighter Summer Day. This movie is directed by Edward Yang, has a 100% fresh rating from the critics, and a 94% fresh rating from the audience. It is on BFI's Top 100 Sight and Sound list. It is number 78 from the critics and ranked 72 by the directors. Now, I don't always agree with the Sight and Sound list, and you'll see when I ultimately go and rank these movies after I finish all of them that I definitely don't agree with their list. But for this movie, I think they're being a little harsh because I think this movie definitely deserves a top 20 or a top 25. It is just a fantastic movie. I will say that I would probably benefit from watching this movie at least one or two more times. The characters are incredibly layered, incredibly complex. They each have their own character arc. They each have their own stories, and all of their backstories and everything that's going on with these characters are extremely interesting. It's hard for me to follow. I was not able to watch this movie all in one sitting. It is a 4 hour movie. This is the third 4 hour movie that I've seen for this channel. The other two were War and Peace, which I thought was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen from 1966, and the movie La Belle Noiseuse, which I just reviewed, I think, last week, and I was not a fan of it. But this movie is fantastic. I'm never able to really watch a movie all in one sitting because of my 8-month-old daughter. She doesn't really allow me to watch more than an hour or so at a time. But even in bits and chunks and pieces, I still felt this movie was fantastic, even though I don't think I really was able to understand all of the characters and all of their storylines. This movie is set in 1960 Taiwan. The adults in this movie are people who have fled China during the Chinese Revolution, and they were trying to escape the communists in China. Now they're really trying to find their footing in this new country. They're trying to figure out who they are. They've all been displaced, and the children. This movie is really about the children who have been displaced and their kind of struggle to have their own identity and kind of their struggle of power in their cliques and in their school and really trying to find out who they are. Now, during this sense of discovery and this power struggle, they end up joining two separate gangs. One is called the Little Park Boys, and the other is called 217. Now, a lot of the early parts of this movie are the two gangs kind of picking on a single member of the other gang. They'll see a single member of one of the other gangs out by themselves, and they'll kind of round them up and pick on them and try to give a message to the other gang not to come on this territory and not to mess with us because we are the ones who are in charge here. And there's a lot of back and forth of this during the first part of the movie. We are also introduced to our main character named Siri. Now, Siri is someone who is not involved in either of the gangs, but he is close friends with those of the Little Park Boys. So I would say if either gang he would ever be a part of, it would probably be the Little Park Boys. He later in the movie finds a woman named Ming, or a fellow student named Ming, who he falls in love with. They have a bit of a relationship during part of the movie, but ultimately Ming is the girlfriend of Honey, who is the leader of the Little Park Boys, and Honey is currently not in the picture because he is in hiding after, I think, either attacking or murdering a member of the 217. And while he's gone, there's another gentleman named Sly who's kind of leading in his absence. Now, during the middle part of the movie, I would say the movie doesn't move slowly at all. But if you're ever in the movie and you don't think you're following it, or you don't think you're keeping up, or you're just not interested or entertained, If you're a music fan, I would say that the middle part of the movie is really for you. There's a lot of Elvis songs in this movie, which is absolutely amazing. In fact, the title of the movie comes from an Elvis song, "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" So there's a lot of American music influence in this movie, particularly Elvis. There's a scene in the middle of the movie where a kid named Kat sings a song called "Angel Baby," which is a song that I absolutely adore. I love music from this time period. Angel Baby, the way he sings it, the way it's shot, the way it's directed in this scene is absolutely amazing. I was awestruck by how they framed this song and this scene. And if you weren't invested in the movie, I was definitely totally invested in the movie right here. And I would say the middle part of the movie is really where it starts to pick up, is really where you see a lot of the violence and the vitriol and everything coming to a head. Now, Sly decides he wants to set up a meeting um, with 217 to kind of try to have a truce, and he wants to do it during one of these concerts that Kat is putting on. Now, Honey comes home and he is upset by this. He doesn't believe that there should be a truce, and he's upset that Sly initiated this. But he eventually backs down and allows this to happen. During this truce, during this meeting that they're having at the concert, the 217 leader named, I think it's Shandog, he ends up going on a walk with Honey. He says, "Hey, look, like let's go on a walk together. We need to have something we need to discuss." And he ends up killing Honey. Now this sets off just a crazy scene in the movie that I was not expecting at all. Now, during most of the movie, sure, these are gangs, but these are gangs with children in them, and although there is violence between these two, I never feel like there's going to be like a point where the violence accelerates and the violence gets a lot worse. But after Honey is killed, the Little Park Boys, they have this idea that he was killed. They don't know for sure, but they believe that he was killed, and they decide they're going to take revenge on 217. And the way they do it is just it's so crazy to me. It's just I wasn't expecting this level of violence. I wasn't expecting just this level of carnage from this movie, and I was just totally awestruck. I was struck by what happened at this part of the movie. The way it's filmed, the cinematography, the music, everything, the writing, it's so spectacular the way all this comes together, but also so brutal at the same time. There's very few moments I feel like where I'm this surprised, but also this like involved and this interested in something that's going on in a movie. Especially, I mean, this is probably 3 hours into a 4 hour movie, and I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm like, how could this be in a 4 hour movie? But it's actually it is what happens. So after this happens, we later on there's a confrontation between Siri and Ming. Siri learns that Ming is seeing other guys, and like he's not the only guy that she's with, and he becomes upset by this, and he ends up confronting her. And what he does at the end of the movie is also, to me, it was a complete shock. I was like, I saw what was happening on screen in front of me, and I was literally yelling at the screen like, "Oh my God, don't do that, Siri. Don't do what you're about to do. I know what you're going to do, but don't do it." And then he ends up doing it anyway. I don't want to kind of give away what happens because the end of the movie really relies on the scene. But it's completely, to me, was a shock. It was out of character a little bit for him to me. I don't know. Maybe it's because, like I said, I didn't feel like I fully grasped the complexities of all these characters. Maybe I missed something with him to where this was written on the wall and I should have seen this coming, but I really didn't. I was really surprised by what he does at the end of the movie, and it was such a shock. And after it happened, I was just sitting at my desk. I paused the movie, and I was sitting at my desk, and I was just thinking, oh man, you just threw your life away. What were you doing? I was talking to myself. I mean, that's how involved I was in this movie. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. To me, the music is amazing in this movie. Elvis is a fantastic performer. You really get to see, like, when you see movies about Elvis, when you see documentaries about Elvis, I don't think you really like grasp or understand how global his music was. I mean, this is a little town in Taiwan that probably like no one has heard of back then. I think it's a bigger city now, but back then it was a small city, I believe, and you don't really understand how far-reaching his music was, and to see this movie and to see that music in this movie, I thought it was fantastic. The actors in this movie are also great. They're all child actors. They're not like 25, 26 year olds playing 14, 15 year olds. They're all the correct age that they're supposed to be. And for me, child actors are really hit or miss. And a lot of the times they're miss. Like in the movie Shane, oh my god, one of the worst acting performances ever is that kid in Shane. But it's hit or miss, and this movie is definitely a hit. All the children actors in this movie are phenomenal. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they were able to get a group of children to act this amazingly, but it is superb. The writing is superb. The directing is superb. When you have a 4 hour movie and 3 hours into the movie, you're on the edge of your seat. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. I'm still kind of blown away by how great this movie was. I would like to see it again, like I said, because there are so many characters. It is so complex. There is so much to take in. I'm sure I didn't notice all the, you know, everything I was supposed to. But at the end of the day, this movie is fantastic. It is absolutely amazing. It's a breath of fresh air considering I just reviewed a movie called Ramble and Rose, which I absolutely hated. And then to watch this kind of movie that is stunning, mesmerizing. I would say if I had to use one word to describe this movie, it would be mesmerizing. The only thing I have against it, the only mark that I would have against it, is how complex it is and how you do need to watch it multiple times. But that's not a huge deal. You know, it's not a big thing. I wouldn't mind watching this movie 2, 3, 4 more times. Even though it's 4 hours long, I would watch this movie in a second compared to most of the other movies that I've seen. It is. I haven't seen a movie in a long time that I thought was this great. That being said, I didn't follow. There was the multiple characters issue that I ran into where it was hard to follow. But besides that, everything was great. I give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. I just there's not a whole lot more I can say. It's just everything about this movie was fantastic. I hope you join me next time when I review the movie Only Yesterday. Hope you have a great day. Thank you.